Howard County Council meeting of 2024. If you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we stand here humbly before you and thank you for giving us another day. We thank you for allowing us to serve and to gather here, and we thank you for the rain. We ask that you give us wisdom to make the best decisions for our community. And we ask that you soften our hearts and open our eyes. Please forgive us of our sins. We ask through Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
It's each January, it's proper that the council have the opportunity to choose officers for the position of president and vice president. And the floor is open for any nominations.
Mr. President, I nominate you, John Roberts, as our council president for the 2024 year. And I appreciate the leadership that you offer us. And that's my nomination, John Roberts for council president.
Second.
Mr. President, I move nominations be closed.
Second. Well, thank you all. Everybody's heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Let's declare it unanimous.
It is unanimous and it is humbling. And I'll promise to do my best
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, I nominate our friend and councilman Darrell Maple to serve as vice president for the 2024 year.
Second. Motion's been properly made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a vote. Let's see. Vote is, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Darrell? Guys, congratulations and thank you.
Thanks.
Our next order of business will be to approve the minutes for the December 7th County Council meeting. Everybody's had a chance to look at them. Are there any questions or comments regarding them?
Mr. President, I move the minutes be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilman Faulkner and Councilwoman Lake. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Our next order of business will be to move on to additional appropriations. Madam Auditor?
Ordinance number 2024-HCCO-02, additional appropriations. Whereas it has been determined that it's now necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the 2024 annual budget. Now therefore be it ordained by the County Council of Howard County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named out for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Additional appropriations, County General, Auditor, First Deputy Finance, $594. Sheriff Communications, $12,501. Prosecutor, Deputy Prosecutors, Superior Court 4, $17,177. Commissioners, Basement Restoration, $54,416.92. Probation Officer, $10. Total County General Fund, $84,698.92. Lit Special Purpose Fund, Jail, Meals for prisoners, $6,446.55. Local road and street fund, $172,000. Auditors and eligible deduction fund, first deputy finance, $12. County user fee, project income, work release facility manager, $1,730. Public health crisis response grant fund, school health liaison, $10,436. Immunizations and vaccines grant fund, billing and enrollment specialist, $8,580. ARP grant fund, deputy public defender, $69,781. FICA, $5,340. PERF, $9,910. Total ARP grant fund, $85,031. Drug court grant fund, PSC coordinator, $8,280. Field officer, $10,263. FICA, $1,500. PERF, $2,700. Insurance, $12,000. Total drug court grant fund, $34,743. Reentry court grant fund, probation officer, $7,455. Probation officer, $57,545. FICA, $5,000. PERF, $9,300. Insurance, $31,000. Total reentry court grant fund, $110,300. Workforce stabilization grant fund, intern, $34,560. Longevity, $5,300. Shift premium, $27,540. Recruitment and onboarding, $7,600. Total workforce stabilization grant fund, $75,000. Mental health court grant fund incentives, $1,000. Travel and training, $3,000. Drug screens, $6,000. Total mental health court grant fund, $10,000. Veterans court grant fund coordinator, $56,770. FICA, $4,343. PERF, $8,062. Office supplies, $2,000. Incentives, $3,500. Other supplies, $8,806. Drug supplies, $1,500. Education materials, $2,000. Graduation supplies, $2,000. Drug screens, $10,000. Travel and training, $5,000. Printing, $2,000. Postage, $400. Therapy dog supplies, $3,000. Total Veterans Court Grant Fund, $109,381. Total additional appropriations for all funds, $708,358.47.
Thank you very much. That was quite a reading. Well, I guess I should probably, first order here is to ask you, Madam Auditor, about the First Deputy Finance, the first item on the list there.
So in ours, it was an error in a calculation. We had some position changes in the middle of the year. So when we were doing the calculation, we were just a little short with what we needed to budget. So that's what the auditor first deputy is. And then we have a percentage that's paid out of our ineligible deduction fund, which is the $12 down there. So we need both of those to make the salary full.
And it's just a bookkeeping correction.
Yeah.
Second quarter straight, okay. Were there any questions or comments for Auditor Jessica Seafreeze? Okay. We can move on to Sheriff Asher. Sheriff Asher, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So it looks like 12,501. I know in past, I believe our fund for our cell phones, our communication line item was in the fund for the commissioners. I think that's all been scattered out to our individual funds. So I believe that's what the 12,501 is, moving it from there into my communication line item, which is 32160. The next order of business is the meals in the lit. So we purchase food for not only our inmates, but a little bit for work release. We serve those meals down to work release. Basically, they paid us back for 2023 meals. Check didn't come till January 2024. So we're basically asking for that $6,446.55 be put back into our account 33400 meals for prisoners. So that's all it is. It's a check they gave us, and now we're just asking for that to be put into our account.
Just going through the council as a gate, so you can actually
Basically spend that
spend it.
this year. So
Yeah,
that was
it's already been,
food that we served to the work release center and in 2023, and then like I said, paying the rears. So we got it in January. We're just asking to put that in there.
Sheriff, on the communications, is that just like cell phones for the merit deputies?
No, we don't supply merit deputies with cell phones. I do some of my administrators. They basically, they have their own individual phones. So this is my administration, my jail administration, my dispatch administration. We pay those, road crew, my transport officers, but no, we do not pay for cell phones across the board for merit deputy. They use their own.
Thank you.
Yep.
so that's for the officers. The administrations for all three of your departments, the merit officers, correctional, and
And
dispatch.
dispatch, my administrators in those, and like I said, 2 transport officers, a road crew, that we purchase cell phones for, but not everybody does.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for Sheriff Asher? Sheriff, thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Okay. And the next one with Prosecutor McCann has been withdrawn. So we will go straight to Commissioner Dodd. Commissioner, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I have 2. The first one is basically moving unused basement repair money from 23 to 24. We like to keep that money for any unforeseen, unfortunate circumstances that may come up. We're just moving that money from 2023 over to 2024. Any questions about that?
So that's not, go ahead.
Unforeseen circumstances, does it necessarily have to apply to this building, or could it be applied in other
It's
buildings?
basement. Could be anything. Plumbing.
Anything in the building or anything in the
Carpet.
county?
It's
Still
not
in the
building.
basement, right?
Is it?
Is it applicable only to this building, or is it applicable
It's
for
it's
something
for
else?
this building.
Okay, got it. That's good
Basement.
enough for me. Okay.
Jack, do we feel like the basement's done?
The basement is generally done, but this would be for any unforeseen things that would come up.
And it's not really an additional appropriation,
Right,
it's
it's
simply
just moving.
coming through the council so you can spend what you didn't spend last year on the basement
Correct,
renovation,
correct,
similar to getting permission.
right. Just moving the money.
Yeah, okay.
The second is during negotiations for some salaries with the deputy public defenders. Some additional funding was needed, and so we were able to use some of our ARP funding and find some funding for one deputy public defender. And so we're moving that money from ARP over to cover that one public defender
For 1 year,
for 1 year.
yeah, okay.
And Commissioner Dodd, we've already paid 1 year for for that person as well? Will this be the second year that we're paying for the
This will be the second year, but this is for 1 year.
only?
Yes.
Yes, for 24. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is this for the magistrate court? Or does it
I'm not
matter?
sure what
Okay.
court it was going,
That's fine.
they would decide that. It's just for one public defender.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think that was, we had a grant for funding of that public defender to start with, and the grant expired and was not renewed. And that's what this is for right here, is to keep the public defender.
We wanted to make sure that
On
was
staff.
funded, so we kind of dug around and found that money. And
Yeah, I think that's how that went.
That sounds right.
Jack, Jack, how much is left in that ARP grant fund?
Virtually not much. We had to really do some scraping to come up with this money, but it was felt that it was needed, so there may be a few dollars in different line items, not much.
Any other questions for Commissioner Dodd?
Well,
Commissioner,
thank you very much.
thank you very much. Appreciate all you do. Okay. Community Corrections, Dustin DeLong? Is that right? Hey, Dustin, how you doing?
All right. I have a couple of additional appropriations. In the 1,0235, 11,125, we're requesting a $10 additional appropriation. It was just a budgeting error. We didn't quite budget a sufficient amount. It was a typo. We hit the wrong button. So that's what happened on that one. In our 2542, 11,254 account, I'm requesting an additional appropriation of $1,730. That is due to the 5% county raise. So it was applied to a grant fund, and I can't give a raise out of that grant fund because it's already accounted for. We didn't get additional grant funds. So when the county raise was applied in that fund, I have to move it into the project income where we have some more movement, ability to do an additional appropriation. I can't do an additional appropriation in that grant fund without shorting something else because it's a finite number. Those are the two things that I have, so this will allow us to pay our person at the appropriate 2024 rate. The raise under the county or under the project income, and then the other one is just the $10 error that we correct.
Okay. I think that'd probably classify as a bookkeeping adjustment.
Yes, sir. It's just something that was applied in the wrong account, and I had to move it into an account that we actually have funding to support the raise.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Dustin?
Right.
Or any comments for him?
Work release is running pretty smoothly, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going rather well. We've been doing it for quite some time now, and it's Jeremy Lovell, and actually the increase or the additional appropriation supports our facility manager, Amy Campbell.
Right.
They have it running pretty smooth. They run a tight ship. Very nice that they do that for us.
Had some experience with some of the people out there. It's good. It really is good.
Great.
And they're working.
Most people are working, and we're seeing some success with our program. So.
What's your numbers with the male work release and the female work release? How's that going on?
I think this morning we're running between 90 and 95% occupancy for the males. Our males beds are about 79, so we're running right at about 70 to 75 generally. Sometimes we have a waiting list.
Out of 80 possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And we have 40 female beds available. We're usually running between 17 and 25 occupancy, so a little bit over 50 to 60% is generally where we're at. But that's running fairly smooth too. So it's a pod, it's a dormitory type setting, so it's not like you can shift beds from one place to another. It's space based, right? So
Yeah.
we have enough room for 40 beds in the female pod. You can't move those 40 beds and apply those to the male pod.
Mm-hmm.
Are there just not enough females who meet the criteria for work release, or why is it only like 60%?
There's a lot of theories around that, and I have not been able to pinpoint the reason for that. In our initial study, the majority of females that come through our system are in fact eligible for that. Whatever information I give you is just going to be based on my perception, not based on data. Is that okay?
Okay.
So it appears that a lot of their sentences are shorter, and then so they're not in our facility very long. They're in there for 10 to 30 days, and then they move out, or they go to another. They go into another area. The other is we have a pretty significant violation rate with our female population for whatever reason that is. I don't know the reasoning.
You mean violation of the work release program? Okay.
Yeah. So that's something else that happens. We get everybody that comes to us as basically per plea agreement, or the court has ordered that as a pretrial placement. So people who are fairly high risk and don't have a place to live, pending a charge, judges may move them into that facility versus having them sit in the jail.
So, is there any magic number of violations of the work release conditions that causes a person to end up back in the jail? Is it one-time violation and you're back in jail 2 times, 4 times, 8 times?
It's a great question. I mean, we do a what's called a sanctions matrix. So,
beg your pardon?
Sanctions matrix. We take
Sanctions.
violations, we label them as low, high, or moderate based on the severity of the behavior, how detrimental it is to their long-term goals and their short-term outcomes, right? So you make a small-time mistake and it's not necessarily the end of the world and it's not going to have a long-term effect, we can work with that violation in-house, or we can have community service, or we can do something else, right? But if it's something like, well, you come back to the facility under the influence and you're a danger to yourself and the facility, the other people in the facility, that's probably going to result in a return to jail in a fairly quick fashion. So the violations are based on the severity of the behavior and the risk level of the participant. So the participant is assessed for a risk level as well. Does that make sense?
So who makes the decision to send the person back to jail if the severity of conditions are such? Does that go back to the courts, or is that in your bailiwick?
Yeah, so we prepare paperwork and send it to the court for approval for placement. There are times where the person may be returned to jail prior to the paperwork being approved by the court, but it all goes there within so many hours of an event happening, and then it is reviewed for probable cause.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions?
I have one more.
You guys are stumping me today.
Yeah.
This is the first one
Sorry,
of the year.
Justin. Do the girls that are in work release, do they make their decision to go in? I mean, can someone go to jail and could go to work release, but don't want to, so they stay in jail? I mean, or who makes the decision that they go to work release?
Our judges make the decision whether they
Okay.
go into work release or not.
Okay,
I'm sure
okay.
the defense attorney has something to do with that, but yes, the judges make those rulings and determinations.
Okay.
So one more for you. Sorry.
I'm
If-
thinking of one over here.
If the person in work release decided, I don't like this job at the, let's call it the local slaughterhouse, and I don't care for that as the type of work I want to be in, and life is easier at the county jail, can they self-initiate to go back to the county jail?
Fairly easy not to come back to the work release facility, sir. If you don't come back, there's a warrant for your arrest.
Oh, so just stay away and then they get arrested again and then they go to jail?
Yes.
Is that the approved procedure, or is there something that's better than that?
I'm sure folks are crafty and can find other ways to return to jail if they want to. But that is the typical one. If people do not want to comply with the rules and conditions of work release, or they don't enjoy their stay with us, they have that opportunity to not return, and then we will file or request a warrant for their arrest based on failure to return, and then also request new charges be filed against the person for a level 6 felony. so they would catch a new offense as well as dealing with the original.
Thank you for this class.
Yes.
I'm
Thank you,
going to ask work
Dustin.
release to come with me to these meetings from now on, so you can get it straight from the horse's mouth. You're getting
Yeah.
it secondhand, so. All right, well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Dustin.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item will be the Highway Department. Amber Toll, is she here this afternoon? A representative from the Highway Department by any chance? Do we want to call her? Can we call her and see if she's planning on coming in or not? Hmm.
And this is just, I mean, it's for the additionals for her vehicles. I do know that. And it was talked about in budget sessions. I just.
True.
Okay. Do the council members want to go ahead and approve the local road and street fund? It's $172,000. We know the highway department needs everything they can get.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
They've had a hard, I trust they, Commissioner, go ahead.
I can't speak for what they need, but I can tell you last night they were out from about 8:30 last night until today.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if the superintendent says they need to do this, I'll back them 100%.
Well, this is kind of a cleanup from budgeting anyway, because this was in the unappropriated money. She didn't realize she had the money to pay for it. And when we looked at her money, okay, we found out that she did. So this is just, was actually more or less approved at budget time that we do this.
Yeah, I agreed. We discussed it with her, so this is, in my mind, something that is, she wants and we're okay with, at least I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Next item would be the Health Department. James Vest.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fine. Welcome.
Just have a couple of bookkeeping issues for 2 grant-funded positions. Looking to request additional appropriations for 8910 and 8925 grant. This is due to the county pay increase and our increase in hours of work. That's all I have. You have any questions for me about?
And this is all covered underneath the new Healthy Indiana plan or whatever.
These are actually grant funded.
Okay.
So these are 2 separate grants
Okay.
that are separate from that. They are July 1 through June 30th grants. So it's something we talked about a long time ago. This change, we needed to appropriate a few more dollars to cover us for the rest of the year until end of June.
How's it going in the Health Department as you
Doing good.
ramp up?
It's going good. I'm just working on our health plan, finalizing that, and just continuing reviewing the state KPIs for the core services we provide, and to find partners to help improve healthy outcomes for everyone in Howard County. A lot of
And
work.
if we're downtown during the daytime and we need another COVID shot, we just walk over to the Health Department and get one? Is
I
that
suggest
right?
you call, make an appointment, but yeah, for you could walk on. You can take care of it.
Okay, so it's no, just call and make an
Yeah,
appointment?
just call and make an appointment.
Okay.
Yep.
They
And
do
they're available?
They're available.
RSV shots, or you do all kinds of
We
shots.
do all
over
kinds of
there.
them, yep, just
Yeah, the
call and
flu
see what we
shots.
have available,
Yeah,
some of these we may have to
RSV.
order if
Yeah,
they're travel vaccines.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Pneumonia shots, all kinds of shots. They've given me all of mine, you guys are, but I made an appointment.
all right.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Best?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Our next item is Judge Elkin, and that's been withdrawn. That's been withdrawn for this month. So we'll move down to the Kinsey Youth Center. Kathy Case Cullison.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kathy Case Cullison, Kinsey Youth Center. What we have is a $75,000 grant that what we received from the Department of Child Services, realizing that there has been a difficulty amongst residential treatment facilities, detention centers, as well as emergency shelter cares to hire staff. We've been in a staffing crisis for the better part of, 3 years. And so the Workforce Stabilization Grant was available to us. I believe it was in July, and we received the $75,000 in the end of November, but it became active on January 1st. And we'll have it for 18 months. We spend those funds over the course of 18 months.
Are there any questions or comments?
If you don't spend it all, do you have to send it back?
I do.
So we better spend it, hadn't we?
We're very likely going to get it spent.
I think this was PAC approved, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's no questions or comments. Olson, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next one will be Superior Court 2, Mr. Richard Cottrell.
I know I don't look like Richard. I just wanted to introduce myself to the ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name's Rebecca Vent. I was newly appointed judge that took office on January 1. I was sworn in. I took office the next day, which was a Tuesday, January 2nd. And I just wanted to come before you because this is my first meeting, and I thought maybe I would want to come with my excellent employee, Richard Cotterill, who keeps us organized and handles all of our budgeting. And so before my introduction to him, I just wanted to say hello to everyone here tonight.
Judge Vance,
Hello?
Yes,
thank you for coming in
you're welcome.
and introducing yourself to us.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you on board, and we want to wish you the very best in all things.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Richard is going to present on the appropriations that we're asking for on our 2 specialty courts.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
The reason we're here today is last year, excuse me, in April, I petitioned the Office of Court Services for these 2 particular grants, and they awarded us the mental health grant in December of this past year, and the Veterans Court budget or grant was approved by them in September. And so we're just here to ask that you appropriate the amount so that we can try to spend this money down over the course of this year. Any questions related?
Congratulations on the grants,
Thank you.
and thanks for applying for them. Any questions or comments?
Just
I've
that you
been
do a
to
great job.
several, not all of them, but several of the Veterans Court graduation ceremonies. Those are very worthwhile to attend, and I'm going to say inspirational to the people that have successfully gone through the Veterans Court process. And those people have done well through that. That, according to Judge Perry, formerly the Superior Court 2 judge, that's not an easy process to get all the way through, but I think it's a very good specialty court. So thank you for
And
following up on that.
if I could just add to that, Councilman, just a few statistics, because I know
Yeah.
you like some numbers.
Great.
Last year, the Veterans Court accepted 10 participants into the program. We graduated 11, and we currently have 16 enrolled that are active in our program. For mental health court, we accepted 16 individuals. We graduated 7, and we currently have 18 in the program that are active. And we have a cap of 25 participants for each program, and we do have a little bit of a waiting list, so we just need to get it filled back up.
That is really great news. This is life-changing work that is being done.
We're definitely doing our best to add some, value to the community, to our participants that are taking part in the program. It's challenging but rewarding at the same time, and it's a team effort.
So, Richard, are these, the people that you work with, are they in jail otherwise, or are they in their homes, or how do these people live? I mean, whenever I know they're in your court, but are they?
Once they're actively in the program, is that your question? Yeah, they typically are either living in a sober living environment, one of our community partners that have homes available for those purposes. They may reside at the Howard County Worker Lease for a period of time, but the majority of them live on their own.
Good, good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Well, everybody's heard what's been presented. Are there any final questions or comments on any of the appropriations?
So the ones that we took off the table, 009, 9131, 9132.
009, 11332, that was tabled, taken off.
The 9131 and the 9132 were the ones that Judge,
Down there at the bottom of the page.
What was the
Funds
second one
90
that you mentioned? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just reading the bold numbers, so so those three are removed, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna move that we approve the other additional appropriations as presented and leave it at that.
second.
That would be fine. Motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilman Faulkner and Councilwoman Lake. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much. We'll move on to transfers. Madam Auditor?
Resolution number 2024-HCCR-01 transfers. Whereas the county council may approve the transfer of money from one major budget classification to another within a department or office if the transfer does not require the expenditure of more money than the total amount set out in the budget as finally determined, and if the transfer is approved at a regular public meeting and by the proper ordinance. Be it resolved by the County Council of Howard County that it is desired and deemed necessary that the following transfers be made within the accounts of the designated funds as set out below. County General Fund, Prosecutor, Deputy Prosecutor Magistrate Court to Deputy Prosecutor Superior Court 3. Magistrate Court, $50,204. Deputy Prosecutor Magistrate Court to Contract Services, $994. Office Allowance to Deputy Prosecutor Superior Court 4, $10,000. Public Defender Office Allowance to Office Supplies, $32,000. Office Allowance to Equipment, $10,000. Law Books to Communications, $1,060. Probation Director of Home Detention to Supervisor Stipend, $10,000. Lit Special Purpose Fund, Kinsey Youth Center, Youth Manager to Equipment, $65,000. Kinsey Youth Center Secure Detention, Youth Manager to Equipment, $65,000. Lit Public Safety Fund, Dispatcher to Longevity, $600.
Thank you very much. The first item on here, Prosecutor, That's been withdrawn also for this month. We'll visit that again at a later date. So we'll go straight to the public defender, Mr. Andrew Vandenbosch.
Good afternoon.
Greetings. Welcome.
We are requesting a transfer from the office allowance that was approved of that 42,000 to be divided into two separate accounts, one for office supplies of 32,000, one for office equipment of 10,000, and a transfer of the law books to communications for $1,060. The purpose for that transfer, after the budget hearings, we were advised that the office allowance that was budgeted was not going to be considered reimbursement, but rather income, which would be paid through payroll. And that creates an issue with our compliance with the state public defender guidelines on salary and case law percentages. So we had some discussions with the auditor's office and have come to this resolution of setting up a specific office supply account and an equipment account so that the public defenders can make requests to our office for those supplies that we can then document where all of those expenses and equipment costs are going so that it's clearly shown to the state when they do their audits that that is actually reimbursement for office expenses and not just additional salary. And the $1,060 communications from law books, we have a little extra in our law books account, and we wanted to purchase cell phones for our two investigators so that they're not using their personal cell phones for all of the communications with all of the public defenders, and also downloading documents, photographs, video that they may gain access to that it wouldn't be on their personal cell phones, but would be able to be kept on the public defender cell phones. But it will definitely help with ease of communication between the public defenders and being able to reach out directly to the two investigators that we have.
Okay.
So those are the requests for transfer that we're making.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Vandenbosch?
Have you guys got another investigator hired then?
We have a new investigator who's been working with us. Jumped right in, and he's doing a good job.
No questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. And our next one will be Community Supervision, Dustin DeLong.
Good afternoon again. I might have a handout for you. So I'm going to get a lot of questions, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm here to request a transfer of $10,000 from our previous assistant chief line item into our team lead stipend. So just a little historical. Last year, I went to PAC committee and requested
stipends for team leads, because at that point in time, we had 4 assistant chiefs, chief probation officers who were responsible for specific duties within the department, and we thought we could increase the number of staff engaged in leadership responsibilities by creating teams and team lead positions. In the fall, one of our assistant chiefs took a job with another county, which changed the reorganization process. So, been working with the judges and our leadership team for several months to come up with a new structure for our department so that we can hopefully be more effective and more efficient in what we do and how we do it. So there's a brief explanation on the front page of your form there, and on the second page there is a new organizational chart that we are into at this point in time. So the transfer will allow that team lead stipend account. It'll take it from $12,000 to $22,000. The $10,000 transfer will move that account up to $22,000. The assistant, or the supervisors that you see there on your bottom, the 3 supervisors, we are paid per salary schedule, and one of the salary schedules is for supervisors at a rate of $5,000. So supervisors with a certain number of employees or certain number of people within the department, we have to pay $5,000 per supervisor. So that would leave, that's $15,000 of the total $22,000 that we're requesting to transfer. The judges have, and I've worked on a process to where we have captured some volunteers to assist with developing policies and procedures and implementing those. And one of those, that's a special project. Those are going to be overseen by our judicial officers. So each special project has a judicial officer assigned to it. So it's not, I want to make sure that that's very clear. It's not willy-nilly, just you did good today. That's not how this works. This is special projects that are sanctioned by one of the judicial officers in each one of these categories. And we were hoping to take that remaining $7,000 and split it up on an even basis amongst those who were engaged in the process of policy development. Since it's outside of their normal job duties, it's above and beyond what's expected of them as a case manager.
Any questions or comments for Dustin?
So that, what you're talking about in that page there, you're gonna add 5,000 to these 3 people here.
Yes, sir.
And then
They
the
did not
7,000
exist before.
And the 7,000 to be split between the team.
Between the teams that have been, yes.
Yep, okay. Makes sense, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Dustin.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Have a great night.
Thanks for coming in. Sheriff Asher.
I think you skipped.
I think you just cut in line, but it's okay.
Oh, did I cut in line? I thought I was after Dustin. Oh, did I cut in line with you?
Ladies first.
I love the enthusiasm,
stand corrected.
Jerry, yes.
I was so excited to get up and speak again.
Absolutely.
My
This
wonderful
is
colleague will go first.
the highlight of our months. Thank you, Sheriff Ash. So on December the 16th at 5 a.m., I received a call that our entire control system had gone down. We had a battery that was no longer providing a warning system because what we have is a 30-year-old system that is trying to marry to modern equipment. It does not work. We had to find an XP computer and a old outdated cable to be able to upload this system again, and every time, or when we did that, we lost additional features. With that in mind, I now need a new system. So what I have presented to you is our invoice from SAS for the control system that operates our doors, a new intercom system to replace the 30-year-old intercom system that we have, and to update our employee e-pad. So what I'm requesting is that we take $65,000 in youth manager salaries and move it to equipment in our 9603 category, and 65,000 out of our youth managers to equipment in our 9605 category, because remember, we operate two different budgets, one for secure detention, one for emergency shelter care. These are 2023, this is from the 2023 budget. This is money that I had available. And so moving forward, we would request that we can transfer that. You'll notice that there's a $20,000 overage, and that's because I'm thinking ahead and anticipate that we will have to remodel the control booth, which has simply been stuffed over the last 30 years with additional equipment as things have become more modernized. With that in mind, we're anticipating the ceiling, the floor, and all of our countertops will probably have to be replaced, as well as when they put in the new intercom system, we cannot guarantee that it will 100% fit in the current speaking boxes that we have. So we want to have the money to be able to repair and make it as new as possible.
As I recall talking back during budget sessions, you were short on youth managers anyway, as far as numbers.
Yes.
Is that correct? How is this going to affect that?
This is from the 2023 budget. This was money that I had overages in the youth manager's salaries. With that money, I have done some significant improvements with the youth center, this being one of them. Right now, I give credit to the assistant director because she's responsible for recruitment and hiring. We had 14 openings when I took over, and we currently have one opening for a full-time youth manager. So we have made significant improvement and progress on hiring youth managers.
Please say that again. You had 14 openings. Now you have one opening.
One.
So you've
We have a
hired
midnight control booth
13?
operator's position open.
Okay.
Do you have more children? out
We
there?
are, today, we had 18. That is an increase of, I would say, almost 50%.
Good.
Thank you.
Is there any estimate for how long this new equipment or this replacement equipment will be functional?
It was last updated in 2006, and it was simply a program update. I'm anticipating, since the same guy who has his initials on our original blueprints is the one who we selected to do this, I hope it'll last another 30 years.
Really, that long?
Well, it'll have to be programmed again, because the programming changes. However, I anticipate that it will be a long-term decision, yes.
Is there more than one vendor in the game of this?
There was, and we took the lowest estimate. And because this gentleman put in the original system, and they started their own company, and the jail also uses them, we decided to go with them because he has familiarity with the building.
And you have an additional 20,000. You've got 130,000.
130.
Yeah. So 20,000 is there to do the follow-up of what you need to do?
Yes.
Yes.
It's literally a contingency fund because there will be additional expenses that we're going to have to incur.
Okay.
What is his turnaround time as far as getting you taken care of?
He has been he's done an excellent job of communicating with us. Right now, it's sitting in the hands of the engineers, and they're to get with us with a date to start. And I do not have that date yet.
Well,
Yeah.
we wish you the very, very best.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Or Ms. Collison? Thank you for
Appreciate it.
coming in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Our last one will be Sheriff Asher.
I apologize. Miss Kate Cullison is definitely my elder, so I apologize for trying to cut. I don't know why I tried to cut in front of her, because I shouldn't do that. Is she armed? I don't know.
I don't know.
So mine's not going to be quite near as difficult as that, but I would concur. SAS is the company that we use at the sheriff's office. We have since the existence of the building. We renovated ours in 2010, and it is pretty much out of date and antiquated, to say the least. So we did luckily have not had the issues that Kathy did. December, was that December? December 6th. I don't know how I forgot, because we spoke that day just a couple of times. But yes, so we've looked at upgrading our system too, and that'll be something for the future as well. So anyways, the reason I'm here is a little calculation error on longevity for our dispatchers is what it is. So we are 5 dispatchers short, so we do have a little leeway in that line item for dispatchers. So looking to put $600 for the dispatcher line item into longevity to cover our longevity bills that we paid out this year. A little faux pas on my part for that money.
Little bookkeeping correction.
Yeah, sure.
Again, yeah,
Absolutely.
no problem. And
Thank you.
you're 5 dispatchers short?
As the moment, yes, we are.
Yeah.
We've had a little bit of a, I guess I need to hire her assistant to see if we can, you're interested. We have some open positions, but we're trying to fill those.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Sheriff Asher? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the transfers.
Move to approve the transfers as presented
Do I hear a second?
with one withdrawn transfer.
Yes.
I second the motion.
Motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilman Alexander and Councilwoman Lake. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to our salary ordinances. Madam Auditor?
Ordinance number 2024-HCCO-03, salary ordinance amendments. An ordinance amending and increasing staffing and salary authorization to be paid county employees for the calendar year effective January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, as originally approved for the year 2024, except where otherwise noted. Be it ordained by the Council of Howard County, Indiana, that for the first said fiscal year, the following salary amendments are approved as additional changes to the basic salary ordinance for the same fiscal year. Necessary personal services appropriations have been approved previously to support the required expenditure of necessary funds. County General, Auditor, First Deputy Finance, $594. Prosecutor, withdrawn. Probation Officer, $10. Director of Home Detention, reduction, $10,000. Supervisor stipend, $10,000. Lit Special Purpose Fund, Kinsey Youth Center, Emergency Shelter Care Youth Manager, reduction, $65,000. Kinsey Secure Detention Youth Manager, reduction, $65,000. Lit Public Safety Fund, longevity, $600. Dispatcher reduction, $600. Auditors and eligible deduction fund, $12. County user fee, project income fund. Work release facility manager, $1,730. Public health crisis response grant fund, $10,436. School health liaison, sorry. Immunizations and vaccines grant fund, billing enrollment specialist, $8,580. ARP grant fund, deputy public defender, $69,781. FICA, $5,340. PERF, $9,910. Drug court grant fund, withdrawn. Reentry court grant fund, withdrawn. Workforce stabilization grant fund, intern, $34,560. Longevity, $5,300. Shift premium, $27,540. Veterans Court Grant Fund Coordinator, $56,770. FICA, $4,343. PERF, $8,062.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments about the salary ordinance? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve as read.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilwoman Lake and Councilman Alexander. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our next order of business will be old business. Is there any old business to tend to? Well, we have some new business to tend to. Looks like we have Public Defender Andrew Vandenbosch as an appropriation for a supplemental Public Defender Services Fund. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Each year, I've come before the council here in January with an appropriation ordinance almost identical to this, except maybe the number of the ordinance. And this is to allow the public defender to appropriate funds from the public defender services fund to pay for expenditures for items to provide additional assistance in those areas that are outlined, like court reporter expenses. Occasionally, we have to have contract attorneys when there is a conflict with the entire office. Witness fees, expert fees, travel expenses. We've not used much in that nature, but it's primarily the investigation, seminar expenses, and those other expenses, subscriptions that come up in the course of the year. That money is funded by the public defender clients who are ordered by the court. Typically, it's usually $100 in order to pay to reimbursement to the public defender's office for the representation. On occasion, the courts will order more if they conduct a thorough inquiry and find that the person is capable through their disclosure of their income of paying significantly more. But on the vast majority, it's the $100 reimbursement, which the courts are allowed to assess at the initial hearing. And so what we collect is included in the fund. I think on average, it's about somewhere between $5,500, $7,500 a month that will come in through those payments that we can use for the expenses as they come up. Sometimes it's to provide an interpreter for the defendant to go out and talk to their client at the jail because they don't speak their language, or these court reporter expenses for transcripts for cases where we need transcripts made of
hearings to use as evidence in a case. But it's kind of an all-inclusive list of expenses that are directly related to providing the public defender services.
Okay. Fund number 4.
So this is an ordinance that you do every year, kind of routine?
Yes, come every year. I think my predecessor came every year in January to submit the appropriation ordinance.
Well, and I think when you have ordinances like this where you're accepting money from the public, you have to have something that says what you spend it on. So I think this good record keeping to do this.
And this is basically outlined in the, I think, statute for the use of the public defender supplemental fund uses is what we tailored our ordinance to include. We're not taking any mass vacations.
Certainly. How many interpreters do you have, or that you use?
Well,
and how many languages? How broad of a language do you come across?
We haven't had a lot of others, primarily Spanish, but we have had a few. I can't even tell you whether they were Asian, or do you recall specifically the other languages? We've had a few that spoke languages from the Far East that weren't necessarily Chinese or Japanese, and then a few from European countries that speak different languages that needed an interpreter to go out and assist. But primarily it's the Spanish-speaking defendants.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Public Defender Vanden Bosch? Okay. So,
Are we doing these one at a time, or do we need approval on this, or what is this?
I think that we need to ask our good friend, Mr. Wilson.
Well, you got the ordinance before you, can vote on the ordinance, certainly.
Yeah.
That's where I would start.
Yeah. Well, in that case,
So I move we approve the ordinance.
Second.
motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilman Faulkner and Councilman Maple.
I do have a question before we vote. I assume we already have a line item in our budget for this. Is that correct?
It's his expense.
There's no,
No,
Yeah.
isn't it?
okay.
Do we appropriate that fund?
Why,
That's
we
what I
certainly do. We certainly do.
No, we don't.
Or we don't appropriate it. Sorry, he was looking at the number.
Yeah, we do have a fund, we do have a
But we
fund.
don't
Yeah.
appropriate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's his.
What's the answer?
We don't appropriate it,
There is a line item, we
But there
don't
is a fund.
appropriate it.
Okay.
but it's their fund, so, but there's only a few of those line items, or a few of those pots of money that we don't appropriate, but it's stated in the statute where we don't, okay?
Okay.
And that's why you're here, to get us to sign this,
Correct.
to,
Authorize me to make those appropriations.
at your discretion.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, the motion to approve the appropriation ordinance number 2024 HCC 0-01 was properly made and seconded by Councilman Faulkner and seconded by Councilman Maple. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you
Thank you very much. So we'll get that signed and give it to you, right? Give this back to you.
Back of the side.
And I guess we'll do some signing in a little bit. Okay. What's that? Okay. Our next item on the new business is Sheriff Asher and the commissary fund resolution.
I was slightly concerned to get back close to Kathy, but I am going to trust that I'm pretty safe here. Get too close. I have a few things for you this afternoon. Try not to take up too much time because it's not getting any cooler in here as we speak. You have commissary. I've given you a commissary update on for this month, or should be for last month's. So that's in there. A little bit about funding for last year. I've had my ladies, which would be Angie and Christina, scour through the records. It looks like in the total funds, whether it would be all the funds for the sheriff's office, we underspent the budget for $218,000, $218,350.17. So just giving a little idea on all the funds, that is, including personnel funds as well. So,
And as you say that, we also recognize that your department and your personnel has had everything that they needed to do the job properly and safely. Is that right? I mean, this is a well-funded operation.
I was going to hoping you say well-oiled machine, but I will take well-funded as well. So, but yes, like I said, we just want to let you know we are. Christina gives us every 2 weeks, every time we get payroll, she gives us an account on how much we spent in each account, how much overtime we spend in those accounts, and keeps a pretty good eye on that. So every 2 weeks, so 26 times out of the year, I get a report from her letting me know. I just asked to get a pretty good idea of what we underspent. That was even with the overtime we spent. So everything included is around $218,000. And then total for the lit fund that we brought in last year, that would be our level 6 felons. Anybody at level 5 or above, we can hit the DOC for that money. We brought in $932,092.98. That would go into the lit fund, obviously to be reappropriated back towards the lit fund. So just a couple of things I wanted to bring up in January. Real reason I'm here is the commissary. So you guys all, I know Alan and I have kind of worked for this the last couple of months. I sent it to him to make sure he had eyes on it. He emailed you folks last week, so hopefully you had a chance to take a look at it. Martha sent me a question back. I added the thing that she wanted me to do that. So obviously we know we have a commissary account. With a couple things, there's quite a few other sheriff's offices. This was not my brainchild necessarily. I took this information from another sheriff's office. There's quite a few of us that get together a few times a year, talk about how we could run our offices a little bit more efficiently, and then this was one of them. Well, commissary funding is 36 IC code 36.8.10.21. It has established the commissary fund. We're fairly familiar with that. There's several provisions in this, what we could spend the commissary. There's 9 different provisions what we could spend commissary money on. I won't go through each one of those. I did give you a copy. I said you should have an email from last week. I give you a copy just to have an extra eyes on that as well. So number 1 through 8, there's typical things that we could spend out. Merchandise for commissary, obviously, to keep that going. Any specialized training equipment installed in the jail, those kind of things that we've done for years. Number 9 is kind of the caveat, the exemption, which says, number 9 says, any other purpose that benefits the sheriff's department that is mutually agreed upon by the county fiscal body and the county sheriff. We've obviously had to do that a few times over the years. A body scanner was $150,000 a few years ago. We purchased that out of, obviously we've helped purchase vehicles out of this. We bought gasoline a couple of years ago, I think to the tune of about $48,000 to help having to come back and ask for gasoline. So what I've done is spelled out in number 9, basically 1 through 22. I don't necessarily want to go through all of them unless everybody wants to. But these things are typical things that we have done out of commissary. Kind of an oddball is expenses for inmates in transit. That's a caveat that if we travel across the state, which we do quite often, we might be in southern Indiana and need to purchase lunch That's really not in the commissary funds, and we don't have another fund to do that. So that's one of the things, indigent haircuts, matching funds for grants, which we've done that before. We've obviously purchased vehicles, expenses for cleaning on the admin side. I know I think it was last year, maybe the year before last, and instead of using our inmate workers, we actually get the cleaning done on our admin side through a cleaning service. That was already kind of agreed upon, but since we're already doing it, I put that in there. And then the last one is remodeling or building jail expenses that Martha wanted me to add into that. So that's what I want to bring up to you folks today. A lot of information to soak up. Like I said, hopefully you actually dove through it last week. But anyways, Martha, yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you set up a budget in your commissary account, like we set up a budget in all of our funds? That way you said you underspent your budget by 218,000 or whatever, and I don't know if that's the balance then of what you have in there, or if you had.
No. That 218,000 had nothing to do with commissary. That was all my accounts for the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So that has nothing to do. I'm sorry, that 218,000, that has nothing to do with the commissary whatsoever. I was just giving you a little update of what we did in 2023 with our total budget for across the sheriff's office. So that was all my funds.
Okay.
So it had nothing to do with that. And do I set a budget for this? No, I don't.
Okay.
We sell products, obviously, at the jail, our phone service, our video service. The contractor that we have puts money in our commissary fund. We purchase items to put back on the commissary fund out of that. So there's a fairly average amount that we bring into the commissary a month. It's per inmate. So if inmates are down, commissary money is coming in as down. So do I set a budget? No. I think long-term, if we have something coming up and going, well, we need to put some money aside. Steve Rogers was fantastic at that, of setting aside that $150,000 we bought the body scanner. We made sure we set that aside knowing that we were going to purchase that. So, if we have a project that we're coming up that we kind of earmark some money out of the commissary fund, then obviously we'll take care of that. So do I have a budget every year for that? No.
That's good information. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, Frank.
2 questions. First, thank you for doing this and getting this to us. Is there any significant difference between calling it a resolution like you have here versus the ordinance that we just did for the public defender?
Absolutely not. That answers your question.
Dealer's choice?
This dealer's choice. If we want to call it an ordinance, I would more than be happy to call it an ordinance. This is just what another county had did. It's a resolution with theirs. If we want to call it an ordinance, that would be absolutely
So
fine.
further down the road.
I don't know that Alan maybe be better to answer that question.
Generally speaking, the ordinance is like passing a law, whereas a resolution is an action that's being taken.
So if down the road a future sheriff said, oh, we got a few other things we want to do with this commissary fund, they would
have to do a new resolution.
So it'd be better
with the
to have a
county council.
resolution than an ordinance, right? Would it be?
No,
No
it wouldn't be necessarily better, it's just a different animal, really.
Yeah.
And you can always revise, you can do an amended ordinance and an amended resolution if you want to, either one, but you need to change it down the road. But like I said, an ordinance is more the nature of a law that would apply to everyone. Resolution is, this body is taking action to take care of an issue.
Well, it certainly looks comprehensive.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, I looked at it, like I said, I looked at a few others, vetted a few other counties. I go with my administration and Angie and looked at it. What are we spending out of that? What is going to be mutually beneficial to the sheriff's office and to the county as well? We just kind of wanted to be as transparent as we could and try to spell out as many possible things that we could do. Annual inspection would be a good example of that. We purchased lunch, and I think a few of you have enjoyed that lunch over the years. That is paid out of commissary. So that's just a thing that we wanted to list in here that's as transparent as we could possibly be and let you know what we're spending out of that.
I see item number 21, expenses for lateral transfer bonus payments.
That's something we already mutually agreed upon in the past. I just wanted to put it in paper here. I know it's in the minutes from, gosh,
July of 20.
4 years ago. Well, I think when the first one we did was almost 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So we've had an agreement with you guys since then, but I just wanted it on paper too.
We just did a couple of those last year, right? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the other question I had was, something like the drones that you've used on certain occasions, would they be out of this or something else?
We bought them out of commissary.
Commissary, okay, thank you.
Definitely, I don't have a drone line item. So commissary's covered that, so.
I mean, it's been a helpful tool at
Oh,
times.
it's been a fantastic tool. I dare have Captain Buckley come in and talk about it, because it would be weeks of data talking about what we've done with the drones. But no, they're absolutely very beneficial.
Thank you.
Oh, any other questions about that?
But thank you for the list.
Sure. The last thing I would love to indulge you with is, and like I said, I know we won't drag it out any longer than we have to. We've got a few of my colleagues here as well. I think they're still awake. I'm not sure. But Jake Gibson's for our task force. So every year we try to give you guys an update. At the last commissioner meeting, we'll get my stuff out of your way. Nope, no. I am your elder, by the way, by a few years. Born on the same day, but a few years apart.
What day is
Jake
that?
Gibbs, September 11th.
Oh, wow.
9/11.
Really?
Yep, both of us born on 9/11.
It's my
So
father's
there you go.
birthday.
It's a good day. Yeah.
Father's birthday.
So before we go to this, do we need to approve this resolution?
And we need a resolution number, so I'll go ahead and give you that. It's 2024-HCCR-02.
And I move
Okay.
to approve this resolution, if that's
As presented.
as presented, yes.
Second.
Motion has been properly made and seconded by Councilwoman Lake and Councilman Alexander to approve resolution number 2024 HCCR-002 concerning the Sheriff's Commissary Fund. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Sorry, I was trying to speed through that. Jake Gibson from our task force, obviously, we've been familiar with those folks. We try to get some data to you guys every year on the absolute fantastic things they do the prior year. The drugs, the money, the guns. I don't want to steal any thunder because I'm not going to be able to do that. But Jake Gibson's here with that, with some of our folks to give you an idea of what we've done.
Jake, welcome to the Howard County Council.
Very much, sir.
Thank you.
I feel like all the money talk, I should start asking for money.
Sheriff Asher brings his A game when he asks.
I'm very good at asking for money. I still want to take that.
That's the testimony I've heard too.
An expert's an expert.
Well, my name is Jake Gibson. I'm the task force coordinator for the Sheriff's Task Force Unit. Before we kind of go over some stats real quick, like I said, I'll try to make it quick as possible. Hopefully you guys have some good questions like you did for Dustin, for us. Help you through that. These stats are not possible without these guys side over here. These are our detectives. We're missing one right now at home. These are detectives that help me every single day. Detective Kisha Quirk, K9 Detective Will Klein, and Detective Justin Bohan. Since the creation of the task force, we kind of want to make it multifaceted. So when you go through here, you're going to see some drugs, money, ICAC, 3D printed stuff. I know that was a big topic the other day about 3D printed guns, so I can kind of go over that a little bit. And then NIVE. First off, we'll talk about some activities that we've done since 2021, and we kind of broke it down on these charts for you. We've had, since 2021, our total canine arrest is 163, home visits with community corrections 519, 627, traffic stops, surveillance 951 hours of surveillance. That's a lot of surveillance. Just various amounts of activity that we do each and every day. The drug seizures, that's a big one for us right now. Obviously, we've had a slight drug problem here. We're trying to curb some of that issues we have. Since 2021, our Sheriff's Task Force Unit has seized and confiscated 5,787.48 grams of methamphetamine, 1,079.40 grams of fentanyl, pure fentanyl, 149 doses of MDMA, spice, cocaine is 527, heroin is 1,618. Basically, we've had 42 pounds of narcotics that we have.
Officer Gibson, on the drugs seized, you got
Yes.
fentanyl, 1,079.4 grams. How much does it take to kill a person?
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up. I actually have the stat here. So since 2021, since we started keeping track, we could have, that fentanyl has killed 539,000 people. That's how much drugs we have taken off the street. Fentanyl alone to kill 539,000 people.
At 1,079 grams,
Yes.
kill how many?
539,000.
500, like over 500,000?
Yes.
Are these for us to keep
Yes.
marking these?
Yes, absolutely. It takes about, I think, 0.10 nanograms of fentanyl to kill someone. It's very deadly. Unfortunately, we're dealing with it every single day. It is mixed with drugs, heroin, cocaine, marijuana. We've seen it marijuana as well. It's agents being mixed with every single day. So this number that we have is pure fentanyl. That's not including fentanyl is mixed with heroin, or fentanyl mixed with methamphetamine. So it's actually, if you could break it down, which we don't break it down because they're laboratory, it's a lot higher than that, for sure. So kind of going through here, guns seized.
How do you protect yourself as an officer exposed to these materials? How do you protect yourself from being contaminated with them?
It's through education, through a lot of training that we have, through the education that we do.
Yeah.
Obviously with our resources that we have resources all over across the state that if we have something, for instance, we confiscated a suitcase full of fentanyl one time. Obviously, we're not going to open that up because of airborne issues, things of that nature. So we send it right down to the lab. They have scanners that can help us determine what's inside of it, test it for us. So yeah, there's a lot of education that we do. We have Narcan, obviously with us, just in case something happens. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Guns real quick. So last year, in 2021, these are all, by the way, these are all illegal guns. These are not just guns that we're confiscating off normal citizens on a traffic stop. These are all guns that are in criminals' hands. Handguns so far since 2021, 223, long guns 152, full auto handguns, that is including what we call a Glock switch, was 18, and then we've had 21 3D printed guns. I know that's kind of a question about us, so we actually brought a 3D printed gun with us. So this looks obviously like a traditional handgun, and it actually is. The part that's 3D printed is here.
Let's see that.
And the reason why they use Glock is because with a Glock handgun, the serial number is actually on top, right? So the Glock serial number, when they 3D print the frame, they're not printing a they're not printing a serial number for that, correct? So that's why we see a lot of 3D printed guns using the Glock stuff. Then they will take and they will purchase the innards of the gun as far as the trigger mechanism, the springs, the slides, the barrels, and put them all together. That's what we see here.
Or is that a 3D gun? Is that printed locally?
Yes.
We have people here with that skill?
Absolutely.
You would think they would use that skill and actually make legitimate money on a real job, right?
It's and it's very cheap to print 3D printed guns. It really is. And unfortunately, currently, it's not federally illegal to do such. So you can actually go home and print a 3D printed handgun if you want and go shoot it, as long as you don't sell that. The thing that we see a lot too is what's called a Glock switch. On a Glock, we have a little box on the back end of it that disrupts the trigger mechanism, turns into a full auto handgun. Those can be printed as well. That also is very, very easy to do. We have confiscated tons of those as well. So that's just a little bit of some things. I think Jeremy had a question about 3D printed guns. So.
Yeah, I was last meeting, I was curious about it.
So we brought show and tell today. And with that too is NIBIN. You see a little a little description of NIBIN. So NIBIN is the National Ballistics Networking. That is a tool that we use through the state and through the federal government. If we shoot a gun, we take the shell casings, we give them to the lab. The lab can compare other shell casings that they receive. So if I have a gun that's been used in a crime here, and say it gets recovered in Anderson, I can match those up to link those crimes. We have put in a real NIBIN case, actually a couple cases in there, that we have linked someone here in Kokomo. We recovered the gun, and that gun was responsible for 8 different shootings. 2 of them, which were attempt murder cases, one here in Kokomo and one in the other Chicago, Illinois. So once again, that's another thing, multifaceted, that we're doing, not just focusing on drugs or guns. We're doing as much as we can. And kind of lastly, I want to talk about is something I think is important to me, having kids, is Internet and Crimes Against Children. We have what's called ICAC. We are a member of ICAC along with Kokomo Police Department. Currently, Detective Quirk, she just got married, so Detective Quirk is actually the only one currently in our area who is actively investigating ICAC cases. ICAC are all of the very bad cases involving children, internet crimes against children. You can only imagine the videos and the pictures that she has to see on a daily basis. Since 2022, when she started ICAC, she has processed and analyzed 78 photos and over 414 videos. And these are very detailed linked videos. These are very troublesome videos, and it's very gross. And I'm glad that she's here to help with and curb that as much as she can. She's busy constantly. I think she has 6 open cases currently that she's working on. So once again, that's just another thing that we do for our task force unit. Not just guns, not just drugs, but also with crimes against children. And then the last number, which is not in your book, is 17. 17 is kind of a big number for us because we're here to obviously take the guns off the street and the drugs off the street, seize the money and, the ICAC cases, but we also want to help out. So since 2022, since we started keeping track, we've helped 17 people get into drug rehab facilities, sober living facilities, drug court, and just try to help them get out of prison and actually make some good changes in their life. So I feel that that's a great number for us. And you have any questions that I can answer?
I don't want to disappoint, so if a member of the task force came to you as the team coordinator and said, this is really getting into my head and it's affected me negatively, I can't sleep or I can't do this and something like that, is there any kind of spiritual or other ability to counsel that person and say, your job's not going to be in jeopardy because you did this, we want you to do this, or this is what we're hopeful that, hey, go talk to Major Cook because he's good at cheering people up, or I don't know how you handle that and what it's called, but kind of the mental health of somebody that's in a very stressful, perhaps more stressful than some other positions, environment as your work environment. How do you handle those types of situations if they should come up?
Yeah, no, so we're pretty proactive with that. Obviously, we have things at the sheriff's office that's provided us with mental health, but I kind of want to step further, especially with detective work. Seeing those images of children, seeing those photos of children, I want to make sure she doesn't get burnt out. That's a huge issue with when you are dealing with ICAC or internet crimes against children, is the burnout rate. Obviously, I don't want to go home and seeing 414 videos of children getting molested or touched. So we have definitely been proactive, and I say forcing, but making sure she goes and talks to a therapist every year, just a checkup. And those therapists are there at the moment's notice. If she needs help, they're there. She can call them right away. But every year she has a checkup, just a mental health checkup, just to make sure she's doing okay. And that is provided to all my guys as well. Yeah, sure, you have anything?
I was going to jump in on that. We have a critical incident stress team at the sheriff's office we've had for several years. We've used them several times, maybe not in this scenario, but some of the things they've seen in the jail, some of the things, the calls that we've seen out on the street, we've brought that CISM team in. That's a few of our deputies, a dispatcher, Kokomo Fire Department's involved in that. So that's worked well to be able to talk out some of those scenes.
What's that called?
The critical incident stress management, I'm sorry, CISM. And then I know Carrie's been fantastic to work with in HR, have an EAP program to, I think IFF now has things in there, you can actually get folks to get some help if you need to. We have obviously a mental health therapist that we employ at the sheriff's office through our medical contract. But we also have, so to speak, friends of the sheriff's office that are a phone call away. Scott Edwards and David Struz. I'm going to miss a few, so I probably shouldn't name anybody. But yeah, that's a big concern, and you don't want to do this for 20 years. I don't know, you can have to switch people out at some point. I don't think somebody should be on narcotics for a long, long period of time, or definitely some of the child abuse things that she sees. And these are tips that come in through that ICAC system. We're not working cases in California, right? We're working cases that are coming into this area. We're not, like I said, so just that he kind of mentioned how many cases that she's worked. Those are information, that tips that have come into that ICAC system that are in our area. So just to let you know that we all know that stuff goes on, but it's just nothing great to talk about. Another question?
No, thank you.
Maybe a comment.
Comment.
Just want to thank you all for the work you do. I want to thank you all for the work you do, and wish you all success. And Just be careful and nail them. Nail them. Between the fentanyl, child abusers, nail them.
And we
My
didn't-
dear.
Yes, we didn't have a task force unit until what, 2021?
2021, January 2021. We
Right, I
got grant
know.
money through our COPS program to hire the 5 new deputies, which Mr. Alexander was very helpful in that particular issue at that time. But we just want to show you, and we'll come back, obviously. Usually we get reports every 6 months. That's not something we normally kick out to you. Usually it's been a year that we'll give a report. I know January or a couple of weeks ago, the commissioner, we gave him some stats. We'll kick out a press release for Tyler next year and our press folks to give them an idea as well that we're working on too. Just giving you an idea of what's going on. Yes.
Is this report in any way considered confidential that we would need to?
No, there's nothing in there. There's no cases in there. Everything's been adjudicated that we've,
Just a lot of data for you. Yeah, like I said, we're going to kick out to our press partners some information there too. But we appreciate it's funding from this board, obviously, that has made this happen. So we want to make sure that we give you a report where your money goes. I think it's very important what all of my staff does, obviously, but it's very important what these guys do. You know, we see a lot of different things that have gone on in Kokomo and taking guns off the street, taking bad guys off the street. John Roberts, I think we need to build a new jail and we'll fill that baby up with just folks from the task force. We'll talk about that later. That's for another meeting. But yeah, I think it's fantastic what these guys have done. Very, very dedicated. Call it at a moment's notice. Christmas Day, I was talking to Detective Gibson about the murder we had out in the center, and he was obviously Johnny on the spot. It's a missing person we had in Galveston, of all places, which is an employee of ours, had a little situation with the parent. I make a phone call, Jake's on the computer, Ms. Kisha is, we're pinpointing this person in, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes maybe by the time I had a pinpoint, we found her up in Galveston. So it's just a phone call away from me. Anyways, no other questions?
It was disheartening when we didn't have a task force, I know that. I mean, I'm glad to see that we have one.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's fantastic. I can't think of our patrol officers that are responding to calls for service. It's hard for them. They just don't have the time to be able to do what these guys do 7 days a week, basically.
Just want to echo and say thanks for everything, and I'm sorry for the loss of your K-9 and for your team's loss there. So.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice presentation.
Very nice.
Okay. Well, by golly. Is there any other new business? I don't think there is. Is there any council business we need to talk about or would like to talk about?
Yes, sir. I don't want to draw this out too long, but a couple weeks ago, we received a proposal from a company that does community funding, budget planning, and long-term, I'm going to call it long-term finance planning for different communities. In my opinion, I mentioned the company, it was Baker Tilly. In my opinion, that type of service would be valuable to our county council, whether it's fairly new people coming on the council, like me and Tim, or whether it's people that have been on the council for a long time, but having the ability to look out 5 years and looking at cash flow, I think is a valuable thing. I know Commissioner Dodd has another contact with a company that does similar stuff. And frankly, I'm willing to wait and work on having a conversation with that other company. But I think it would be very valuable to the county to have and to engage and contract with some company that does long-term financial planning, and Pam has helped us with getting that information, and probably a few others, but I think it's a valuable and useful tool for the county and for the county council members. I'm willing to wait before making a decision, but I don't want to wait too long because I think it's really important. I'd like to see us act hopefully in February and do that. And I just want to express my opinion that it's a valuable service that we should look thoroughly at and contract and have that discussion with the other company that Commissioner Dobbs mentioned. So no surprises. I just want us to be aware that that's something that I think is valuable. Enough said on that. Thanks.
Any other comments?
I agree with Frank, especially when it comes to budget time. I think something in writing, we're always going to have new council members, okay? And I think something in writing would be helpful. We did a lot of training during budget time this year and last year with our new people, and you guys have done great. We didn't really have anything to present to you, though, that says, here's a history of what we've been doing. So, I mean, I'd like to see how much it's going to cost, but I think it would be.
But the thing I see is this projects out beyond the next budget year.
Right.
Projects out to, impacts of future cash flows in, and basically, I think a 5-year cash flow estimate is something useful for the county. Other counties have said it's useful for them, and I'm kind of in that camp.
Yeah, and it's something that would have to be looked at every year, I believe, because the legislature changes the way we get funding almost every time they go into session. So it's something to keep up on, and it would be something for, especially, well, I went to that same class that you did, and I've been around for a lot of years, but I learned a lot because it's ever changing, okay? So I don't disagree with you at all, Frank. I think there should be something in writing that tells us what we're doing, what we have, and there was a time when we went in the red in the general fund, and I'm going to shut up because I'm hot, okay? But it's something that I think would be, we could have a history together in one place that would help people during budget.
Just one other comment. When Baker Tilly gave their presentation, they said they would need I'm going to say a representative or a liaison from the council to them, and that could be the same with the other company. And in my humble opinion, Martha Lake would be our best representative, but I'll leave it at that. Just say if we get to that point, I'll probably be asking us to consider Martha for that role.
Well,
I think the experience of auditor, because, is helpful. And I would do whatever you asked me to do. But if someone else would want to do it, I wouldn't stand in anybody's way either. Okay,
sure.
So.
It has to be recognized while we're on this topic that Howard County is perhaps, I wouldn't want to call us a benchmark for responsible fiscal responsibility, but we do come pretty close to best practices recommended by the State Board of Accounts, and we do watch the taxpayers' money carefully and properly. And as we look out, they say that the future is too unpredictable to predict. So we keep a healthy cash balance, but it's no more than what the state says we should have anyway.
Right.
And one thing that I am concerned about is if we hire out an outside company from Indianapolis or wherever they're from, that we inadvertently transfer the responsibility of the budget to them and away from local rule from us, and that perhaps our skills may atrophy from lack of sweat. And there's a lot of sweating going on with this budget when it's time to make a budget. And of course, that's good medicine, because with every challenge comes achievement. And I'll cut it short because it's hot in here. If there's any other comments or questions, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded by Councilwoman Lake and Councilman Maple. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.